Hello everyone, this is Joanna the Medium. Thank you so much for visiting my channel, and for those of you who are regulars, welcome back. I hope you like these messages. I will keep the intro very brief. These are, as you know, your September messages. A lot of it was channeled at the very beginning. Interesting energies, to say the least. I think I've said this before, we're all going through transformations and a lot of it is coming up. There's a lot of educational information I feel in these messages. So even if you're one sign and you're drawn to another sign that you don't relate normally, you might want to listen and see if there is something for you there, because I feel like they kind of sprinkled tips all over the place that could be useful by anyone, regardless of which category they fell into, because these are life situations that Spirit talked about. Also, for additional information as far as longer term messages, I will put those links down for you below. They are on Vimeo. There is the 6-month projection from July until the end of this year, December 2018. Also, the 7-year Uranus videos are also there, and that's a 7-year projection, so it'll give you the big picture of what things will be like over the next several years. But the 6-month is much more potent, because it's only focused on the next 6 months or so. Of course, if you would like a private session with me, that information is down below. Thank you so much once again for liking, sharing, and subscribing. I always say, without you, I wouldn't do this. And what I do is something that I absolutely love. And I remind myself every single day how lucky I am to be able to do this and love what I do, because it isn't often that everybody gets to do that, right? So that just, I'm supposed to say, that just affirms that when you believe in what you do, things eventually happen. I think that message was for somebody. So I think that's all I have. Thank you again. Of course, if you would like to comment, information is comment down below how this applies to you, and listen to your other signs. For one of them may not mean much to you, but always listen to it at the end of the month or next month, because you guys always tell me that at the beginning it makes no sense, and then you come back and you go, oh my God, I can't believe it. So I wish you best of luck. I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care of yourself, and let's get going. Hello, beautiful Aquarians. This is going to be your message, or your messages, for the month of September 2018. As I'm saying this to you, I want to say the words congratulations. I actually have funny energies around you. I feel a whole bunch of mixed emotions. I feel excited. I feel elated. I feel like I don't want to deal with things. It's just a whole bunch of different emotions that I'm feeling. It's good. It's nothing bad, but it feels kind of chaotic. So maybe that is how you're going to feel all over the place in the month of September. What was I getting at? Okay, so when I was meditating on you before I put out any cards, one of the first things that I saw is that I saw a mirror effect. What does that mean to me? It means that many of you will be, or need to be, facing yourself during these times of transitions. When I put out the card, I kind of chuckled to myself. Not really chuckled. It wasn't haha funny. It was kind of there's a lot of transitioning energies which are very apparent in probably most of the signs. So it's no surprise to me that you are also going through what I would consider a transition. And we've had all these eclipses and the full moons and Uranuses and everything else on our planet that is affecting us all, so you're no different. But the mirror effect to me signifies there's a need for you to look at yourself. And the moment I say this, I have this feeling in my throat, like I don't want to deal with it. And all of a sudden I have this depression in my heart or around my throat, and it gives me a little bit of an anxiety. As a matter of fact, I feel a bit of a panic. So it is very obvious to me that many of you need to look at some things within yourself that you have been avoiding. For some of you, you need to figure out what it is really that gives you an anxiety. For some of you, I hear an anxiety about not belonging. Yes, jobs and all those things give us an anxiety, no question about it. But if you feel on regular basis always anxious, and that's just the way it's always been, it is there for a reason, and you need to figure out the reason why. Also, an anxiety will prevent you from getting what you want. Why? Because you will always question yourself, and therefore you'll never know which way to go, so you'll be confused, which is precisely why I've been feeling confused when I got to your energy, or chaotic, should I say, because there was no direction. So many of you need to face yourselves, and that is not an easy task. It's for many humans, at least ones that I've worked with, including myself, because looking at ourselves shows us the things that we are doing in order to contribute to the things we don't want. So it takes tremendous amount of guts, dedication, and knowing that when we have a deeper awareness of ourselves, meaning that we have awareness without judgment, we can then change the way we do things and consequently completely change our existence. But there is resistance always to looking at ourselves, because we often blame ourselves, and well, that who wants to be blamed, right? So huge emphasis on needing to look within. I also saw that some of you didn't want to hear anything. I actually, one of my ears got plugged, and I said to my team, "Why is my ear plugged?" And I just heard they don't want to hear. They don't want to hear. So I tuned into it. And so, by the way, if one of your ears is plugged, no, obviously go see a doctor if you need to, but notice if there is something that is around you that is affecting you that you don't want to hear. For whatever reason, you have resistance to hearing it, knowing it, facing it, whatever that is, because that was shown to me, and some of you did not want to hear things. So this would be similar as not wanting to see things. Why I asked, so I said, why is this resistance? What's going on? And why don't they want to hear or see things? And it's resistance to change. So when we resist change, we make it difficult on ourselves, because we are facing the inevitable, but we're prolonging the pain of whatever that is that we are trying to avoid. In other words, change is part of everyday life. We change every single day on minute levels. Sometimes change is big and it makes us uncomfortable because, well, we're creatures of habit and we do not like having our foundation rocked. So looking at your own self will help you accomplish many things, but one of the things that it will do, it will help you realize what are some of the things that you are contributing to that no longer serve you. The other thing I saw was that I actually heard them say, get on the train already. And to me, train symbolizes a journey, which also speaks to me for change. And I feel like some of you are resisting change. In other words, you are waiting for the train is coming, the train is waiting for you, the train is about to go, you got to get on that train. This is obviously a metaphor. So feel what it means to you in your life and see perhaps where you have been avoiding getting on that train, moving on with life, moving on with the change, and ask yourself some questions as to why you're resisting so much. Well, for one, it's uncomfortable, we know that, but there's more than that, because certain fears will be amplified during those moments. So mirror effect is very important for those of you who want to listen to this. Notice if there are some things that you can observe about yourself that will give you clarity on what's going on in your life, and also will give you the proverbial aha moment so that you don't have to continue to do this again. The cards that came up, 2 cards came up for overall theme, and I just kind of said, what's the energy in September? Very interesting, because you have guilt and you have the card of emptiness. Okay. So again, this is facing the truth. Many of you have unresolved feelings within yourself that is around guilt. guilt you hold on yourself. You feel guilty. Somebody's guilting you. You are wanting others to feel guilty. You have been guilted in your past, and now guilt it can affect us in gazillion ways. So it is important for you to notice if in your life guilt doesn't play a major role. And I'm hearing the word self-sabotage. So oftentimes, example, let's say you are looking for a really good job and you want to be financially stable, you want to be secure, you want to be seen as someone who's successful, but your conditioning comes from a place of lack, meaning you didn't have very much when you were growing up. Your parents scraped by. As a matter of fact, you didn't have one of the parents, so you felt neglected by one of the parents. Your household was a mess. You had 4 other siblings and life was chaos. So in other words, you've learned to be in an environment that felt very unsafe and chaotic, and by you being in that environment, realize this is what life is, and hence is your belief system. So if you have a belief system that is based in lack and you are trying to create something that is of abundance, those are two contradictory energies. Chances are you either are not going to get what you want because you're constantly pushing it away, or the moment you have it and realize that it doesn't align with your fundamental truth, you will reject it, sabotage it, mess things up, look for things that are wrong with it, because there is something within you that says, I can't. And it might be around guilt. Perhaps in this particular example, you were brought up believing that you have money, you are filth and evil. There are people who do believe that. And as a result, you have grown up believing that money is evil. But now you're trying to make money to be independent, and you have this contradiction within yourself, which causes you guilt. How can I want something that is bad for me? And you somehow feel obligated to uphold that belief system. So really important for some of you, for all of us, to look at some underlying conditions, particularly in areas where you are struggling with. The idea of emptiness is looking at the aspects of you that are missing or you think are missing. So with the example of a job, you are working really hard to get a job that pays well, and most importantly, it's pays well, so it gives you stability, but also it makes you feel important. It makes you feel good about yourself. But the problem with that is that fundamentally you're still coming from a place of lack. So you actually think and believe that there is something missing inside of you. On some level, you feel empty, you don't feel satisfied, and you believe that getting this job with this big title is going to help you get that. Well, problem with that is, again, like the first example, the moment you get that job and you have this big title and people call you a whole bunch of names, good names, boss, whatever you want to call it, a leader, but fundamentally inside of you, you're crumbling, that facade can only last for so long, because it is a tremendous amount of weight or burden on your shoulder to uphold the title you don't believe fundamentally is who you are. So again, that could be based on guilt. However it's usually how we are brought up. It's what our belief system was when we were younger. So those two aspects, things that you feel are missing, things that you feel are empty inside of you, and guilt, those things can be addressed by looking in the mirror, by looking inside. So it's important for you to allow yourself the luxury of knowing who you are. And I love how it's being said, because oftentimes facing our fears doesn't sound great. But looking at the luxury, or giving ourselves the luxury to know who we are, you see how that sounds different? Because the more you know about yourself, the more choices you have. Why? Because your belief system is reflected by what you become aware of. Give them an example. Let's say you start looking at yourself in the mirror and you decide to see why you always feel like there's something missing inside of you. You begin to see somebody who helps you to go back. You get a regression session and you realize that somewhere around the age of 5, your parents were both working and you had a nanny and they were never around, and you felt fundamentally neglected and emotionally pushed aside. And in your 5-year-old mind, you thought it was because you're not lovable. And as a result, you now believe that's the case, and any idea around you being loved or somebody giving love to you, you will reject. It's called self-sabotage, even though that's exactly what you want. So this is an example of what might happen. You can do this various ways. I do this with clients on a regular basis. Any activity that you can do to look deeper into yourself will ultimately prove to you that your foundation is based on your belief system. Everything that you are, everything that you see, everything that you believe, everything that you create is based on what you believe is to be true, which came as a result of a set of circumstances. So allow yourself the luxury of knowing who you are, because when you know that, you can start seeing things from a different perspective. You can start realizing that many of the choices and decisions you made are fundamentally rooted in the fact that you believe that you are not lovable, which is absurd, but that's what you believe. So now we have to work on you feeling more lovable towards yourself, which will also allow you the ability to increase your abundance, because you'll be open to receiving, right? So those are the 2 cards that came up for September. And then when I started to laugh, because you have Truth Be Told, which is all about honesty, and it is in reverse. You have Not For You, which is something you're chasing, but it's not meant for you. And then you have 10 of Pentacles. So this is around abundance. So for a lot of you, you're struggling financially, or you're struggling in your physical world, your marriage, your health, particularly your finances, your job. It is important for you to look at your truth, again, at a belief system that perhaps contributes to the reason of your struggle. And I can hear many of you already will say, well, no, that happened to me. Yes, everything that happens to you is a result of what you believe. It's just the way it is. There's no way around it. There's no way around it. Now, I always say, does that mean that you deserve bad things happening? No, of course not. Of course not. But if you fundamentally believe inside of you that you are not deserving of love, you will have difficulty receiving abundance on all levels, and that includes money. So if this is something that you are choosing not to see, it's important for you not to be stubborn. Why? Well, because it doesn't pay you any longer. It doesn't serve you any longer. If you choose not to see, you are effectively choosing to stay stuck, and you don't want that. The Not For You card in protection is about not chasing something that is not meant to be yours. So if it's a relationship that you are chasing, but the relationship isn't fundamentally good for you, and you refuse to admit that to yourself, then what you're effectively doing is you are constantly pursuing the very thing you're afraid of, which is not being loved. Because if you are chasing a relationship that doesn't want to be yours, and you can't let it go, you're constantly reminded that you're not lovable, as in this example. So that will absolutely affect your relationship. It'll affect your stability in relationships, because you'll always be questioning. Why? Because you'll always be fundamentally feeling not safe. So again, pointing out to the emptiness inside. Then you have Co-Create. And again, with this card, I want to say, don't be so stubborn. So this is about a co-creation process. What is the process of co-creation? You do your part, the universe does its part, and it's ebbs and flows, and that's how it goes, which means there are times for doing things and there are times for allowing things to happen. And doesn't matter how much you try, you can't force things to be. So for many of you, this is about allowing the universe to give to you, but you need to step aside. And part of the ways that you can step aside is, again, look inside and ask, what's the haste? What's the haste? Why are you so in a hurry to have something happen when you can clearly see it isn't happening right now? Sometimes it's about timing. And I have no idea what I'm talking about here because I have no connection to any of your situations. But this will either apply to you or it will not. So don't rush the process of what's the word I want to use, of expansion. The image that's being given to me, or the metaphor, is when a woman is pregnant, there is a 9-month, usually gestation period. There's specific, obviously, amount of time where the baby needs to be inside in order for it to be born and be healthy. If we rush the process, well, good things usually don't happen. In other words, you can't rush nature. Sometimes, well, things have their own course and they need to go through it. And for many of you, you are perhaps too hasty to fix things without looking at what the real problem is fundamentally. And again, it's looking inside of yourself and facing the mirror and looking at the things that you contribute, that are contributing to your situation not going right or being wrong for you or just not working out. Now, I'm not saying bad things are going to happen. That's not what this is about. This is about reflection. And as a matter of fact, you have Queen of Swords in reverse, and then you have Ace of Swords. So to me, Ace of Swords is a brand new beginning. It's a brand new thought, brand new awareness. Awareness around what kept you stuck. Queen of Swords, this is an aspect of you. It signifies that right now, you're not in control of your mind. Your mind has control over you. You're not in control of yourself. And as a result, you may become very hasty and very anxious. For some of you, not very diplomatic. And a lot of it will be driven by some internal fear that you need to face. So whether you are starting on your job, whether you are starting a new family, whether you are ending a job, ending a relationship, chances are certain fears will come up to the surface. Allow yourself the opportunity to examine what those are and go a layer deeper to where you can clearly see what it is. And rather than trying to mask it and deal with it like you always have, trying to fix it, rather than trying to fix it, try to understand what it's about for you. Because the moment you begin to realize what the real fuel is, what the real issue is inside of you, is the moment you can begin to break yourself free. Why? Because you can see it. It's visible. And when it's visible, well, it's easier to deal with. I always say if you don't know what you're dealing with, it's like chasing ghosts. It's bloody hard because you can't see them. So that is what I want to say to you. I feel like many of you, I literally see things being handed on a platter. I mean, I wouldn't like to have things handed in a platter because I wouldn't feel that I put effort into it. But I see for some of you, you're like things are being handed to you to deal with something. For some of you, you're being handed an opportunity to become a leader. If that is the case for you, examine your observations of yourself when it comes to being a leader. Chances are, if you are being approached of being a leader, chances are you are one, you just may not be recognizing it, and some fears may come up for you. And although no one really loves being in front of other people, generally speaking, when you're in a leadership position, there's not much room to hide, so you have to be pretty confident. So that message is for somebody. It's at least for one person. And for some of you, if you are in transitions from a job to another, it's important to examine your current belief system so that you can attract the thing that you want versus the one that you don't. Rejection is another thing that comes up. So I'm going to put that together with the guilt and emptiness. Rejection is also abandonment. Some of you may still have some issues around rejection that you have not let go in your past. And it's always layers. It's always layers. So although you may have done a lot of work, there's always work to be done, right? So recognition of which is always something that makes it easier. And I think that's all I have. I do wish you best of luck in September. I hope this was helpful. This will apply to you at any point in your life, particularly in the month of September. So do listen to it at the end if it makes no sense at the beginning. And come back to it some other time because I feel that this is something that anybody can benefit from regardless of what sign you are. But I do wish you best of luck. For those of you whose change is inevitable, get on that train already. Be a part of life. Don't resist the changes. For changes are usually for the better. We just don't think that way, and that's part of our problem. We always think of the worst case scenario. Anyway, I wish you best of luck. Take care of yourself. If you would like to comment how this connects with you, I would love to read it. Of course, a private session, that information is down below. Thank you once again. Best of luck and talk to you soon. Bye.